We go. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا يا أرحم الراحمين. طيب. I don't know how many of you were able to watch the recording. Last week it was the snowstorm and we streamed, and I'm not sure how many people got the chance to be on the stream or watch the video. But please, I encourage you to continue listening because many of the topics that we are tackling time after time are dependent on the previous one. They are not, segregated and separate from each other. So if you miss something, it's going to come back up in the next, lesson, and it's going to be, a little bit difficult to catch the whole picture. At some point in time soon, inshallah, I will take maybe a quarter of one of these lectures and just do a quick summary so that we can catch up and help those who did not attend from the beginning. As you know, this is the first time that we do with the IDP program Mustalah, and it's the first time I ever do Mustalah in English as well. So, it's just a learning curve for me as it is for you. And that's what I have here is like a kind of dynamic goals. Now, I'm presuming that most of you did not have a lot of previous exposure to Mustalah. So despite that, there's still going to be some gaps between some of you who know some about this topic and some who don't know anything and starting from scratch. So I have to go and just cater to a certain degree for everyone who is listening out here. But this is in general, by the end, if I want to gauge myself and say, did I succeed in what I wanted to achieve? I'm trying to put what are the targets. I try to speak about this every single time because it dictates what material I need to present. I'm not going to present to you detailed material that is not practical to you. So then I have to define what is practical. And this help me out. This is what I put in here. So I said one of the goals is that we will have confidence in Sunnah books. So when somebody is opening a Hadith book or reads about Hadith, he will have some kind of understanding, visualization of where Hadith books came from, how did they get propagated, and how dependable and authentic they are. It's definitely is not something that I will be able to achieve through a half a dozen kind of lectures in here, but at least I hope that I would open your eyes and give you some sense of directions to know how to go and continuing reading. Sometimes when you read fiqh, you finish a chapter, you feel like, okay, I've got my arms around it. You read the second book, a little bit more detail. When you go into Hadith, the more you read, the more you know that there's so much out there that it's impossible for you. But it's like there's a saying among one of the muhaddithin, علم الحديث لا يعطيك بعضه حتى تعطيه كلك. Hadith, I think we will need one more table. The guys are bringing a table, I guess. Shabab, there's one last Arabic version. We will print more, but does anyone want the Arabic version? Okay, you're going to share it on that table. And then tell me how many more we need to print, and we'll make some more, inshallah. Right? Okay, I'm going to give them this. I'm going to give you this. And if I need it from you, I will take it from you. Okay, this is the second one. There you go. Eventually, somebody's going to run without a book. There's no two ways about it. And the book is available as a PDF, so you can always pull the PDF and follow on your phone or on your iPad or on your laptop. No, okay. You want to hold your question? Are you going to forget it? Okay, cool. What happened here? Nothing. Yep. Okay, so the second, I want to go through this rather quickly. I don't want to take a lot of time from the meet. To become familiar with the Mustalah main terms. We're not going to be capable of getting all of the terms under our belt, but at least the main ones that are recurrent. Some of them you're going to see them on and on and on. And other one, you're not going to see them that often, but they are important. And some ones are not important. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those ones. Number 4, I was saying the last idea is that there's a saying, I think one of the muhaddithin, I think his name is Abu Bakr ibn Nuqta. He said, علم الحديث لا يعطيك بعضه حتى تعطيه كلك. علم الحديث sciences will not give you a little tiny bit of itself until you give it all of yourself. So unlike other sciences where you dig in it a little bit and then you are capable of managing 90% of it. And then the remaining 10%, you know what? You can put a lot of time and you will not get it. But hadith in particular, you know, it is really a very vast kind of sea of knowledge that the more you dive in it, the more you understand that there's a lot more out there beyond what a person can, you know, encompass in one series like this one. So again, all I'm trying to do in here is just guide you to the doors, give you some hints, and set you up on a long journey, inshallah, where you will find it beneficial. So number 3, I spoke about this a lot, is that one of the things that I benefited most from hadith sciences is understanding Islamic history and its evolution through reading about biographies. We passively mentioned, not the past halqa, the halqa before about, or was it last time, about Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, who was one of the kibar al-tabi'in who attended khutbah by Sayyidina Umar. And he was at the time of Bani Umayyah. And he used, obviously, to pray at the Masjid Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And that was at the time of political turmoil. So apart from him being a big senior scholar, but it's important to see how he did behave with that political regime that was existing over there, and how Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who was Amir of Bani Umayyah on Medina at that time, walked into Masjid Nabawi and he saw Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib there when there was nobody else in the masjid because of the political issues that were there, how they dealt with each other, how did they see to each other. Like, these things are not part of hadith sciences, but it's a part of the personality of Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. And his personality is defined by him being a scholar. If you tell him, are you a muhaddith? He will tell you, what is that? I'm just like, a regular Muslim who have searched for ilm. I gathered ilm and I pass it. But this is our definition that we bestow on them or we give to them at this later time because we like terminology. But for him, he was an embodiment of Islam. And these biographies and ulum al-hadith, I hope that it also will guide you to see the different colors, flavors, and personalities of different scholars. And then to understand the evolution, build a relationship with reliable history books and resources. Well, now we'd like to know, for example, Sayyidina Khalid ibn al-Walid. Okay, great, I want to read about it, but from which book? Who's the author? Who's his resources? Is this a literary book or it's a scholarly book? So you have to know, and you have to have to build a sense of knowing. First thing you would do is that you open on the resources. Where did this author get all of his information from? And from there, you would see also how much work he put in it to go and sift through it and to stress test it to see if those stories about Sayyidina Khalid are historically correct or not. So this is also something that ulum al-hadith will allow you to build over time, that you will be able to cherry pick the books you want to read. Understand the evolution of various schools that evolved through the centuries of the Islamic Ummah's life, such as, where did Sufism come from? Like, were there at the time of Sahaba anyone who was called a Sufi? At the Tabi'een? If I go into Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib and ask him, hey, are you a Sufi? Like, is he going to look at me as if I have two heads? The short answer is yes, because the word Sufism did not even exist at that time. And this is something that you will build over time when you read history books, you read biographies. you see like, where did the word Sufi come from? I'm not saying that it is a bad or not. It's just a generic term. What goes underneath it is more important. But it did not exist at that time. So you would still say, when did it come? Where it come from? Who accepted it? Who refused it? What type of scholars accepted it? What type of scholars refused it? And so on and so forth. Same thing you could say about Aqidah, about Fiqh, about Shia, about other things. All of these things through the biographies, through the history books, you'll be able to build on it. So we go back to your question, Akhi. Good question. I don't remember. I'm not familiar with either name, but I don't think Ali Jum'a is the one who. Actually, I'm not going to answer. I have to read the introduction one more time to know that. But one of them, obviously, the material is by Sheikh Mahmoud Tahan, right? Are we on the same here? Someone translated it, and the one who translated it also shuffled some material around. So it's not perfectly in line with the original book. But yes, yeah. The Arabic version is you have this book, which is, yeah. This is the book, the original book, and this is the Arabic version that you have. Okay, and the English version is the shuffled around translation. So this the bound version Arabic and the bound English are not page by page in correlation with, as authentic. This is the Arabic one, Mahmoud Tahan. Okay, may I just take a look there? It's the so it seems like he's just an owner of the library who printed the book. Okay, he's not a name that has a role in the book itself, other than just maybe technicality. Are we good? Fine. أهلا شيخنا كيف حالك؟ نورت. مولانا بتحب نكمل ولا بوقف؟ وإياك الله يبارك فيك. طيب يلا. Yeah, the lag makes the computer very slow, so my apologies. Because we're casting, takes some juice from the computer. All right, now we get this going. All right. Last time, we spoke about the 5 conditions that are required in order that hadith is considered to be hadith sahih. And we said that the isnad, the sanad, and the route from which the hadith came needs to be connected, not only connected with religiously observant narrators, and also they have to have good memory, or they have to have their narrations written down, and that this narration cannot be conflicting with another one that's as strong or even stronger. And we did not speak about the fifth one. We'll leave it till later on. So now we go to the next page. All right. What is meant by grading a hadith as being sahih? It means it fulfills the 5 conditions of the sahih hadith. It does not mean that it is maqtu' bi sahhatihi. Okay, I will explain this. What he's saying, just the fact that we went through the exercise and we made sure that the sanad is connected by people who are religiously acceptable and they have good memory, or they have preserved their hadith written down, and that it does not have any shuzuz, and it does not have the 5th condition that we did not explain. This makes the hadith mathematically sahih, but does not makes it conclusively sahih. The only conclusive sahih that we could say is, according to the mainstream, is hadith mutawatira. Once we leave hadith mutawatir, we go into the binary division. If you remember, we said all of the hadiths are either mutawatir or ahad. The mutawatir is conclusively sahih. Ahad is not. The ahad is the one that comes with 1 isnad, 2 isnad, 3 isnad, and so on. All of those, they fall under this category. We will mathematically and say, okay, academically, I can say most probably the Prophet ﷺ said that, but I cannot conclusively say it. So this is what he means by the first paragraph, that it fulfills the 5 conditions of the hadith sahih, but this does not mean that it is conclusive sahih, since it is possible for the thiqah to err or forget. So if we go back, remember this isnad that we looked at last time? Well, Imam al-Bukhari in his book, he said, حدثنا Abdullah bin Yusuf, he said, حدثنا أخبرنا مالك عن ابن شهاب الزهري عن محمد بن جبير بن مطعم عن his father جبير بن مطعم أنه سمع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقرأ بسورة الطور في صلاة المغرب. That he heard the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم read Surah At-Tur at the Maghrib prayer. Now, obviously, Bukhari is the one who wrote the book, so he's the scholar. Abdullah bin Yusuf is thiqa, Malik thiqa, Ibn Shihab thiqa, Muhammad ibn Jubayr thiqa, and Jubayr ibn Mut'im sahabi. So all of those are impeccable quality narrators. Not only they are good Muslims in terms of religious observance, but they are scholarly. They know their hadith inside out. But is there a chance where one of those had a human error? Yes, it is possible. But if he had many human errors, they will never be called thiqa. But because it's rare, it might happen. We call it, that's why we don't say it is conclusive. Conclusive, is like beyond doubt. So we cannot say it's beyond doubt. Say most probably nobody made a mistake. And actually, inshallah, the Prophet ﷺ did read Surah At-Tur al-Maghrib, and Jubayr ibn Mut'im was there and he heard them. So this is what it actually means. Okay. And this holds true for everything in Sahih al-Bukhari wa Muslim, unless some of those hadiths in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim are mutawatir. If they're not mutawatir, then they become hadith يغلب على الظن أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said it. That's why Hafiz al-Iraqi, when he said in his poem, وَقْطَعْ بِصَحَّةٍ لِمَا قَدْ أَسْنَدَ كَذَا لَهُ وَقِيلَ ظَنًّا وَلَدَ مُحَقِّقِهِ. Yani, Ibn Salah, he said, his own opinion was, no, whatever Bukhari or Muslim narrated is going to be conclusively true. This is Ibn Salah. But Imam al-Nawawi and the majority of the scholars said, no, we have to be realistic here. We're going to say most probably. That's what this poem says. So Ibn Salah said, no, I would say it's conclusively the Prophet ﷺ said, as long as Sahih Bukhari and Muslim as long as this hadith is in their book, then I would say it's conclusive. But the scholars after him, and it's a mainstream, said, no, this is not the main idea. This is not the main choice. Like, number two, what is meant by grading a hadith as not being sahih? Like that it has not fulfilled some or all of the 5 conditions of sahih. So we said we have 5 conditions in the previous page. So we might have, let me go back, it's okay, it makes it a little bit. So if we have this isnad, but here we're missing a person, then I have a disconnected isnad. It means the hadith is no longer sahih. What if instead of Imam Malik, we had a different person who was a great Muslim, a great qiyam, hafiz al-Quran, everything, but you ask him about the same hadith to narrate it twice, he never narrates it exactly the same way because his memory is kaput. So that person, he might be a good adl, but he doesn't have dabat. So the reasons why a hadith becomes not sahih are various. Since we have 5 conditions over there, you can have any combination or permutations of those things. The minute that you miss one or more, then your hadith is downgraded from sahih to something else. All right? So this, when you say hadith is not sahih, this is what it means. It means it missed one or more of those conditions. Now, the muhaddithin, some of them started to say, oh, then what is the most authentic hadith? What is the strongest isnad out there? So there are a number of different opinions, but it's not helpful. There's no need for that. It's just like some kind of exercise that they go through in order to shed light on certain asanid. So stating a certain isnad is unrestrictedly asah al-asanid, the most sahih isnad out there. The view chosen here is that such cannot be conclusively stated. There are many asanid that are really good because the levels of authenticity vary in accordance with the extent to which the isnad fulfills the condition of being sahih. Rarely does an isnad satisfy each of the conditions at the very highest level possible. Hence, it's better to refrain from grading a particular isnad as unrestrictedly being the most sahih. So this is the correct approach, is that we say there are many asanid sahiha, but there's no one that is hands down better than everything else. Plus, what's the value of it? I mean, if this is sahih and this is sahih and this is A++ and this is A+, like both of them are accepted hadith. Despite that, opinions regarding the most authentic hadith sahih has been reported from some of the scholars. And it appears that each one chose for himself what he deemed as being the strongest. So among those opinions, for example, we have Az-Zuhri. Az-Zuhri is the same scholar whom is the teacher of Imam Malik when we had on the previous page. His name comes back up in here because he's one of the prolific narrators. And so Az-Zuhri, when he narrates from his sheikh, who's Salim, and Salim is the son of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar from his father, who is Abdullah ibn Umar. So Az-Zuhri and Salim and Ibn Umar is one of the most famous asanid. And there's another one similar in here when Imam Malik narrates from Nafi', who is the servant of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar. This is another isnad in here. And there are many other in here, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. So for example, here there's Ibn Sirin. We spoke about Ibn Sirin at the very beginning of the book. And Al-A'mash, we spoke about Al-A'mash last time when he narrates about Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, about Alqama and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and so on. All right. Any questions so far on this left half of the book, of the page? Yes, that's the whole. But don't forget, not every single hadith mutawatir is agreed on the scholars. Like it's a spectrum of colors. There's a number of ahadith that everybody agrees is mutawatir. So these you can call them inclusive. But as the number of asanid shrink, like let's say we have 15 isnad, man kadhaba alayya muta'ammidan. no two scholars will have a problem. Everybody can say conclusively, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did say those words. But then when you go down from 15 to 11 to 10 asanid, and some of them are, mid quality, some might say this is mutawatir, say other people will say no, it's not mutawatir. So once you get to that level, then we will have to hesitate saying it's conclusive. But for the number of mutawatir that is agreed upon all the scholars that they are actually mutawatir, we have that answer. Nope. If you remember, I don't know if you were not here last time. There are books that have as little number of hadith mutawatir as 80, 90. And then you go to another book, they have 500. Because each scholar is gathering as much as he can find and putting all the asanid next to each other, and they will differ. So I think I uploaded, yeah, so that was the smallest one. I have the translation on it as well. تفضلي. صح الأسانيد. Different scholars. If Imam Ahmad, he said one thing. Imam Shafi'i said another thing. Imam Malik said another thing. Yeah, it's all those scholars had two different things.
Heard that ones that all Islamic sects.
All Islamic sects have?
Yeah. Ones present.
Not necessarily. There's some hadith that mutawatir for us, they don't acknowledge it themselves. And vice versa. They have some hadith that they claim it to be mutawatir on their end that we don't acknowledge that it's even mutawatir. So I don't think it has to be acknowledged across the board. Allahu alam, no, I don't think. No. Do Shia acknowledge hadith? See, I would love to stop and talk a little bit about this point. This is one of the factors that gives you so much more confidence in the Sunni books, because they keep everything in it, whether it's for them or against them. Many Shias, they use our books to bring up their own arguments against Sunnis. Why? Because they have more confidence in our book than they have confidence in their book. And for example, there's one of the most famous books, it's called Muraja'at, that is between one Shi'i scholar and another. It's a claimed book. It's not even authentic, but regardless, he said like there's about 100 narrators that are considered to be Shia among the Sunnis, 6 books. You know what? That's fine. I mean, the Shia that existed in those books are political Shia, are the ones who are aligned with Sayyidina Ali, and they didn't like what the people from the Sham did. And this concept of the infallible 12 Imam and Imamiyah did not even exist. So at that time, yes, the Shia, they consider our books, and then their ideas started to evolve later on, and you wouldn't even find it among the biographies of all the scholars that someone believed in an infallible 12 Imam, which is called Imamiyah. This is something that came later on. So they do use our books, and we acknowledge that among the narrators, there are people who are leaning towards Sayyidina Ali. More than leaning, probably they are, diehards, pro Sayyidina Ali, and so on. That's fine, as long as they are good Muslims and they have good memory. We will take them. They will even put in the biography that this person is Shi'i. When they say Shi'i, عنده تشيع, it simply means that he is pro Sayyidina Ali, anti Muawiyah. That's all what it means. No more, no less. It doesn't have nothing to do with the current concept of Imamiyah that we see out there. All right? That quoted? Well, you know what? Hadith Ghadir Khum, Hadith Mutawatir. Hadith Ghadir Khum is an important hadith. I don't know if you guys know it by this name, but when the Prophet ﷺ, he sent Sayyidina Ali to Yemen, and the Prophet ﷺ, he went to Mecca, and then coming back, they met, and there was an issue within the army, and the Prophet ﷺ wanted to clear it up, and then he gathered everybody in Ghadir Khum, and he brought Sayyidina Ali, and he told him, Allahumma wali man walah wa adi man adah. And he said almost like, whomever has an issue with Sayyidina Ali is as if he has an issue with me. It's like he put it with no minced word that, you know, Sayyidina Ali was almost, you know, you cannot pick on him just because you don't like something about it. And there's so many stories about it. In the same story, this about when Sayyidina Ali went to Yemen. I'm going on a tangent, but just to give you an idea. One of the respected Sahaba, his name is Buraida. He came back from Yemen, and after he came from the Yemen, he went to the Prophet ﷺ, and he sat in front of him one-on-one, and Buraida put his head down and started talking and telling the Prophet ﷺ things that Sayyidina Ali did that he didn't like. And by the time Buraida finished talking, then he lifted his head, he looked at the Prophet ﷺ, he saw that the face of the Prophet ﷺ was not happy at all with what he was hearing, that he was criticizing Sayyidina Ali. And he asked him, "Atubghidu Ali? You hate Ali?" And you know, there's a story behind it. And then he said, "La tubghiduhu, don't hate him." And when you look at these things and you see how, you know, they are human in the end, they're not angels, but you will see how they quickly will correct and how much they respect and they follow the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. Then you would be able to find out that what happened politically later on during the time of Sayyidina Osman and Sayyidina Ali, it has seeds that you could see it coming from before. And reading the biographies will help you understand what it is and go from there. So anyways, we'll leave this for later on. It's a different story. So some collections of books that wanted to gather Sahih. This is important because we are going to have a small exercise soon. Obviously, Sahih al-Bukhari, who passed away in the year 256. Sahih Muslim, who passed away in 261. Then Sahih ibn Khuzaymah. Sahih ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Khuzaymah, he passed away in the year 311. I don't think we have all of Sahih ibn Khuzaymah. We have part of it. The manuscript never made it to our time. But some scholars narrated a hadith about Ibn Khuzaymah, so we have it through second hand. But as the manuscript itself of Ibn Khuzaymah, we did not get it, or at least we have half of it. Sahih ibn Hibban, who passed away in the year 354, is also one of those books. So, as we know, the 6 main books are Sahih Bukhari, Muslim, and then we have Nasa'i, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah. These 4. Ibn Majah is there by chance. I explained this one time before. Ibn Khuzaymah is much worthy to be there instead of Ibn Majah. Like Ibn Majah has a lot more, Ibn Khuzaymah has a lot more hadith sahiha than Ibn Majah, but khalas, like it's now too late. It's considered to be the 4th of the 4, but you would see more of Sahih ibn Khuzaymah when they want to get and present hadith sahiha, then they would pick from Ibn Majah. Ibn Hibban, a little lower, and he's saying that it has an unconventional way of how arrange the book. It doesn't matter, but this is a Sahih ibn Hibban is one of the books that you would hear about, and Mustadrak al-Hakim is one of the bigger ones. Al-Hakim al-Naysaburi, who passed away in the year 405, wrote one of the biggest books. He was accused of being Shi'i, but you know what? When he wrote a chapter about the virtues of the Sahaba, he started with Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Umar. So I mean, okay, you might consider that he wrote a book specifically about Fada'il Sayyidina Ali. Okay, good for you, so what? Doesn't make him Shi'i, but that's what people accuse him of being. His book is a massive book. And look at the time gap. Like the last one of the 6 books, Nasa'i, who passed away in 303, and now we come to Hakim, who's 405. There's a whole 100 years between them. The narrators between, all of the years 300, they are no longer. They are still. Their names are listed. they are judged, they are critiqued and everything, but they are much less important. Why? Because by the time it was the year 220, there was a lot more paper, there was a lot more money that's spent on people writing manuscript, there was an easier travel. So all of the books, all of the hadith that was available in the years 190, 200, 210, 220, now got gathered and it's like exploded all over the place. It's no longer, it's such a rare thing to find a hadith. The same hadith, you'll find it 50 different places. It's only now trying to find the best way to get to that same hadith. You might get it from 20 different sources, but you're looking for the best one in here. So even though Hakim went all the way back to the year 405, it does not make his book any weaker just because he's 100 years later. It probably gives him an advantage because now he has all of those explosion of books. He can actually scan it and pick from it. So Hakim, he wanted to write this book, and he called it Al-Mustadrak, which means catching up. What catching up on what? He wanted to catch up on all the hadiths that are Sahih, but not in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim. He said Bukhari and Muslim did not attempt to capture all of the hadith Sahih. They left out so many other ahadith Sahih. True. And he said, I'm going to capture all of those other ahadith Sahih and put it in my book. So what he ended up doing is getting a lot of new hadiths that are Sahih, but because the book was so massive, he didn't get a chance to go and scrutinize what he wrote. He passed away before he went on it the second time. There are a number of hadiths that are da'if in it, but you would find a whole good set of hadiths that are Sahih and Mustadrak. And he overlapped with Bukhari and Muslim with something, even though he did not intend to overlap with them, but he did include a number of hadiths from Bukhari and Muslim. So, yeah. So the exercise that I alluded to is this book, Bulugh al-Maram. Bulugh al-Maram, and always with Ibn Hajar. So why is this book important? Because unlike Riyadh al-Salihin, Riyadh al-Salihin is a book where Imam al-Nawawi, he wanted to write about things that are all about zuhud and virtues and so on. And he avoided many other things that are related to different topics that don't fall under this big umbrella. Ibn Hajar, he wanted to put a small book. This is a very small book. It's not a big book that included in it all of the key and important ahadith that are the main ahadith in each section of the Islamic fiqh. That's why he said, Bulugh al-Maram min adillat al-ahkam. These are the evidences of the rulings. So he has all different chapters and books that you usually would find in a fiqh book, and he put it in, he brought the ahadith in it. So why am I bringing this one in here? So I'm not gonna read what the hadith is. It's not important for me in here, but I'm just gonna tell you. So when Ibn Hajar, he's talking, for example, about the chapter of waters. He brought a hadith in here, and then here what he says, أخرجه الأربعة. What does أخرجه mean? What does الأربعة mean? When he says أخرجه, it means the person who wrote its isnad and put it in a book and brought this hadith forward to you. الأربعة. الأربعة, when we say أربعة, by default is السنن الأربعة. Nasa'i, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah. Okay? This is by default. When you say al-arba'a, you don't hesitate. And when we say al-thalatha, we drop Ibn Majah because really he shouldn't be there in the first place. All right? When we say sitta, we add to them Bukhari or Muslim. All right? So, and akhrajahu al-arba'a. Min kaman? Ibn Abi Shayba. Ibn Abi Shayba is not a name you're going to see too much, but He's one of the key scholars as well. And here, this is Ibn Hajar's wording. He says, وَصَحَّحَهُ Ibn Khuzaymah. Remember that we mentioned Ibn Khuzaymah just a second, that he is more deserving of being the fourth of the four. And Ibn Khuzaymah, he not only narrated it, and he declared it to be hadith sahih, وصححه الترمذي كمان. So when Ibn Hajar, and also رواه الإمام مالك والشافعي وأحمد. So Ibn Hajar is giving you this in here. You should be able to understand what's written in here. Okay, so if we go to the second one. Another hadith. أخرجه الثلاثة. Who's the الثلاثة? The three sunan, as we said. We drop Ibn Majah, we keep the three. And then he added, and he said, as if he's telling you, and also Imam Ahmad narrated it, and he declared it to be hadith sahih. A side point in a second. Side point. Imam Ahmad's book is a humongous book. I don't know, 30,000 hadith, like bigger. Bukhari is 7,000. Imam Ahmad is like 3 times Bukhari. Imam Ahmad only put the asanid in it. He did not declare any hadith to be sahih or da'if. But outside of that, many people would come to Imam Ahmad and would ask him, hey, what do you think about this hadith? And he will tell them sahih or da'if. So this is something, a judgment of Imam Ahmad that Ibn Hajar captured from a different source. The 4, Nasa'i, I'm mentioning them in the quality order, even though it's not in the year of death order. The top one amongst them is Nasa'i, who passed away in 303. Next one is Abu Dawood. Abu Dawood, I'm going to say 275. And then Tirmizi, 279. And Ibn Majah in 270s as well. I don't remember by heart. I always mix them up. So Ibn Majah is number 4. And if we say 3, you drop Ibn Majah. Okay, 2 questions. Number 1. نرجع في الحديث. السنن الأربعة. They call them السنن الأربعة. وابن ماجه. Yeah, because he wants to tell you that Tirmidhi, he called it sahih. Tirmidhi is included in there. No, it's a mix of everything. It has sahih, has hasan, even though he called it al-jami' al-sahih, but even he himself, he declared a number of ahadith inside this book to be da'if, and other scholars know that it's da'if. He did not. What about the other? Yeah, I said by none of them has purely a hadith sahiha. I mean, they all have a mix, but the number of sahih versus number of da'if in Nasa'i is the best. The least da'if, most sahih. Abu Dawood is next, Tirmidhi is next, Ibn Majah is Allah atik al-afiyah. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, and there was a question here. Yeah, they just narrated it, brought their isnad forward, but they didn't make a decision on the value of the isnad. Muwatta Imam Malik would require a chair, and that's a story on its own. Imam Malik, sometimes he did not intend his book to be a hadith book. His book is a fiqh book, and he continued changing it. Imam Malik is like, between Bukhari and Imam Malik, there's another narrator. So Bukhari is 2 generations late than Imam Malik, all right? So Imam Malik, his book is about ahkam, halal and haram and so on. Sometimes he will put his own opinion. Sometimes he will tell you, وَقَالَ Sayyidina Umar, and he will give you a halal and haram decision from Sayyidina Umar. And sometimes he would narrate a hadith and he will jump, قَالَ Abu Huraira, where's the isnad? It's not there. And sometimes he will give you the isnad. So he did not intend for it to be a hadith book. He intended it to be a book for al-halal wal-haram, to people and take fiqh fatwa from it. Now, having said that, the majority of the scholars will tell you all of the hadiths that inside Imam Malik have roots elsewhere, have asanid elsewhere, and they were all being able to be connected. So even though he had this hadith about Abu Huraira and he did not mention the isnad, you might go to another book and you will find the isnad over there. And there's not even a single hadith in Muwatta Imam Malik that is da'if. All right? And there's a number of hadith that are inside the Bukhari and Muslim and others from the roots of Imam Malik, or they came through the isnad, and they would mention Imam Malik in their isnad, or they will use his own root, but through his other sheikh and so on. So the Imam Malik, because it's not a hadith book, sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't. Because if you have an isnad that's missing two people, even though it's later onward was judged to be sahih, it's of no use to you if I tell you, وفي موطأ الإمام مالك حديث أن أبا هريرة said so. Okay, where's its isnad? That makes it a little bit awkward there. تفضلي. Correct. If you go to their books, you will find the isnad there. صحيح. Correct. Because there is a little variation in the wording, and this wording is in the Musannaf Abd al-Razzaq, Musannaf Ibn Abi Shayba. Yeah. No. See, the isnad might be different, but they all will come to Abu Huraira. Sahabi. This part of the isnad is common, but underneath it could be different. Yes, the only thing that we know is that Abu Huraira is common, but the other ones could be different. It could be different. The isnad that you get from Ibn Abi Shayba might be different than the isnad of Abu Khuzaymah. The students of Abu Huraira could be two different students. Each one went in a direction in these books. All right. ماشي طيب. There was another question here that I skipped. Right. Another hadith in here. How many people أخرجوا? And how many books is it narrated? Where do you see two? خلاص. It doesn't mean that Abu Hatim narrated it. He said أخرجه مش أخرجه أخرجهما أو لا أخرجوه. It's only one. You'll find it only in one book. And this is an example. When there's a hadith, you think Bukhari, Muslim, Nasa'i, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud don't know this hadith, but they looked at it, they said, no, pass. And Ibn Majah say, I'll take it. And then he put it in his book, and then he get Ibn Abu Hatim or Abu Hatim, and he said, you know what? Yeah, this hadith is no good. But still, Ibn Hajar, he puts it in his book. Ibn Hajar, he put this in a book. Why? Because he considers it is of some value. The fuqaha find has value in this hadith. Not every hadith that is not up to par with the 5 conditions of hadith sahih becomes a fabricated hadith. No, it's not fabricated. Fabricated is a topic on its own. This is a weak hadith. There's difference there. If it's fabricated, Ibn Hajar won't even put it in his book. It is a weak hadith. So in our mind, we have to stop thinking about sahih and, throw it out. No, there's sahih, there's da'if, there's lightly weak, there's super weak. And we're considering Hasan and Sahih together because they are of the same, we can use them the same way. But when we go to the da'if, it's not something that you consider it of no value. It has some value, and that's why Ibn Hajar puts it in here. If somebody wants to challenge Ibn Hajar and said, da'if is something that is, it's corrupting the ummah and shouldn't be there, well, you have a bone to figure out with Ibn Hajar. Right, let's go to the other hadith in here. So, yeah. Here هو أخرجه الأربعة. صححه مين؟ Who? Ibn Khuzaymah. Ibn Khuzaymah, he said hadith sahih. And this also, Hakim, he said sahih. Ibn Hibban, he said sahih. Remember those names we just read in the book in here? This is how popular they are. They come and they are frequently seen in here. All right. First hadith أخرجه Muslim, so there's no question here. Bukhari, the Muslim. Okay, let's look at this one. So we have here a hadith, and who أخرجه? Mean? Abu Dawud wa Nasa'i. And then what? Who said that? No. Ibn Hajar. لأنه كان قال لك وصححه أبو داود وصححه النسائي. But there's a comma in here وأسناده صحيح. Ibn Hajar, he's putting his own 2 cents in here. Okay. The next one is أخرجه مسلم. So we have the ولأصحاب السنن. What does this mean, ولأصحاب السنن? So that أصحاب, it means the owners of the sunan. When we say sunan, which book is this? Which books are those? The 4. Right? Sunan al-Arba'a. When you say sunan, it means Arba'a. ولأصحاب السنن, it means this hadith in the 4 sunan books. And what do we have in here? وصححه الترمذي. So Ibn Hajar, he's relaying that Tirmidhi in his book, he said this is a hadith sahih. Not only Tirmidhi, he said sahih. So this comes to the similar to the previous question where Tirmidhi is mentioned implicitly in here, but explicitly in here. وابن خزيمة also declared it to be a hadith sahih. نعم سيدي. برافو عليك. طيب. So the question is that in the previous hadith, Ibn Hajar, he said, وَإِسْنَادُهُ صَحِيح. As if he's saying that its isnad is connected with observant Muslims, good memory, and this is what he said. He did not go beyond it and say something else. Many times it could be construed to mean, to imply that there's more work to be done, but in this instance, probably Ibn Hajar meant that it is also a hadith sahih. Actually, to be honest, it's based on the context. And who says it is something different. So Ibn Hajar is one of those scholars that he would, if there was a illah, if there was a problem, he would mention it. He would not just tuck it under the carpet. But no, it's definitely a valid observation. Okay, you get the idea. I'm not going to go through, but we will do more of those, inshallah, next time as well. I just want to give you an idea that this book, I have put it up on the class, so you can go through it, and you're going to find some terms that we didn't talk about, and you're going to find them a little bit, not a lot, but there's still a few terms that we'll go through. We'll talk about them, inshallah, next time. So, where do we go next? Yeah. All right. Last time we spoke. All right. We'll do some exercises in here in the last 10 minutes. I will go one book here, go one book here. And the ladies, you had this book last time, so we're gonna just pass it in here. So this book is the most used as step 1. We never depend only on these 2 books are volume 1, volume 2. So one of them is only going to be used. So this book, the one that you guys have, Taqrib ibn Hajar. Look, everything we're doing is always revolving about Hafiz ibn Hajar. So this is a start point where it's the culmination of his own judgment on the narrators. There's a lot of talk that we can add to it afterwards, but for now, to get our foot in the door, this is a book that we can go to, and it will help us quickly know the rating of a narrator and where he falls in the timeline. So the timeline, according to Ibn Hajar, he used these tabaqat. I have an English translation of this that I will share with you in a second. Now, so last time we spoke about the first 6 tabaqat. So I'm gonna read the first 6 and then go to the next 6 that we want to talk about. So he said the first generation, tabaqa means generation, and it does not necessarily mean generation in our understanding, like, I don't know, 33 years or 66 years. He just it's like a terminology that he chose for himself. So he said all Sahaba, whether they are old or young, senior or junior, I'm going to call them one tabaqa. All right. Second one are the kibar al-tabi'in, the senior tabi'in. Do we all know what the word tabi'in means? Tabi'in are the generation that did not meet the Prophet ﷺ, but they met a Sahabi. If you meet a Sahabi, you are considered a tabi'i. And if you met Sayyidina Abu Bakr, which means like you were very, very, very close to the time of the Prophet. You could have seen the Prophet if you had a little bit more time or you were born a year or two earlier. So anyone who sees a Sahabi is called a tabi'i. But the Sahaba are so dispersed in age, from someone who's like Sayyidina Abu Bakr all the way to someone who was 5 years old when the Prophet ﷺ passed away. So all of those are considered Sahaba. And anyone who sees one of those generations, regardless of this age, is considered tabi'i. But over here, Ibn Hajar started now separating them. He said, yeah, the Sahaba, we put them all in one basket, call them one tabaqa, that's fine. Tabi'in, we're going to split them. So we're going to call them kibar tabi'in, which means senior tabi'in. And then there's junior tabi'in, the one who only saw the last of the Sahaba. And so he cut them into 4. Kibar tabi'in, and then the middle one, and the next one, and the junior tabi'in, which is the 5th tabaqa. So these are the tabi'in. And the sixth one is, he said here, is a generation that met, that they took the knowledge from number 5, but we're not sure that they ever met anyone from the Sahaba. So they are not considered to be tabi'in in here. This is the 6th tabaqa. Right. Now 7, this is the new one that we're taking now. Let me just bring it a little bit up. So number 7 is kibar atba' tabi'in. Is the one, this is atba' tabi'in. So we defined who the tabi'in are. And now we're defining a new generation called atba'u tabi'in, the followers of the followers. So Sahaba, their students are tabi'in, and now we have atba'u tabi'in. This is a very famous term used. So this is atba'u tabi'in, and he says like number 7, kibarhum, which means the senior ones of them. So what does senior mean? It means they met someone who is senior from here. It depends on what age that this was. So he gives an example like Imam Malik and Thawri. Number 8 is the middle one, like Ibn Uyayna, Ibn Ulayya. And Ibn Uyayna in here, for example, he's like Sheikh of Imam Ahmad. And now you'll get an idea that this is the Sheikh of Imam Ahmad. So his students, as Imam Ahmad is one of the earlier ones, because Imam Ahmad he passed away 241. He's 10 years before the Bukhari. He passed away 10 years or 15 years before Bukhari. His book is before Bukhari's book. And so now we know that he's the person, or he's the scholar who passed all the information to the scholars who started writing books. So with the books that you have over there, could you please pick up Thawri? His name is Sufyan ibn Sa'id. So You will find it in volume 1. لا بغداد. Yeah. Imam Ahmed. Imam Malik. Yeah. مين؟ Imam Malik? طبعا اشتغل بالحديث because Imam Malik, yeah, he works, of course he works in hadith, and he is, no, he was key. His name is very key in the hadith as well. He was in Medina, and all the knowledge came to him because when people come for Hajj, he stayed in Medina and passed away in Medina and everything. But no, he is definitely is considered one of the pillars of muhaddithin. Yeah. All right, Sufyan ibn Sa'id, can you find it quickly? Sufyan ibn Sa'id al-Thawri. Not only, it is online, you can find everything online, but this book in particular is also a PDF on the on our Google class. It's already up there. And even there's one in Urdu, if you read Urdu. All right. Yes, you will find it. You go, for example, you can put Sufyan ibn Sa'id and you just put Taqrib al-Tahdhib. And then you will go automatically to there's a website that's considered to be one of the most exhaustive of the books called Shamila. I don't know if you know the Shamila or not. You would put Taqrib al-Tahdhib, Sufyan ibn Sa'id, Shamila, and you will end up exactly in this book. You found them? No, you found them? Okay, can you please raise your voice and read it, but word for word? Huh? It's not like a whole sentence because it... أي واحد. Okay, 2445, what does it say? نعم. So he's from Kufa, he lived in Kufa. بعدين? So ثقة, he's telling you, he's ثقة, so he's already gave you the conclusion. He is worthy of narrating hadith. Hafiz, not only ثقة, he's also Hafiz. Hafiz is like in one, a higher term from just ثقة. He's also like a compiler. And faqih, which means that he's also a scholar of fiqh. And then what? Okay, abid. He is also someone who is very, he prays a lot and he has a lot of worship known. And imam, he is a leader in what he does. And hujjah, it means like if somebody has a conflict in narration with him, Sufyan is the one that the authentic he goes. And what, continue please. Okay, so طبقة السابعة. Here. So when he tells you from طبقة السابعة in here, okay. If somebody was here, then you would know what this means. But this is something that you could watch it in the video of last time. We spoke about tadlis. And tadlis is something is when someone hides a weakness in his isnad and uses a term that almost makes the person listening misunderstand what he said. So if he had a weak sheikh, then he would drop the name and just go to the next guy using a term. And unless you know what's going on, you might be fooled and think that he heard from the other sheikh. When in reality, he hasn't heard from him. He heard this through a weak connection. And this is called tadlis. Tadlis is like hiding a defect. So in here, he's saying, رُبَّمَا دَلَّسْ. And then, okay, so he passed away in the year 61, but it means in the year 161. You have to understand that over here, all of those people are already in the year 100. So when he says 61, you know that it's 161. And he was at 64 years of age when he passed away. Could we read the second book, what we have here? This is the different book. It's a second step above this one. How many lines is this? Because I just want to make sure that we stay within our time limit. Okay. علي صوتك الله يخليك. So أحد الأعلام علما وزهدا. And he's one of the key figures in knowledge and in zuhud. So okay, now he's starting to tell you who are his shuyukh, whom he narrated from. So this is an advantage of this book because it gives you a short list of the key people who his teachers were and who his students. Ibn Hajar does not do that. Okay, so Habib ibn Abi Thabit. أيوة سلامة. محمد ibn al-Munkadir. وعنه, it means, and who narrated from him? Now he's telling you his students. Who? Abdul Rahman. So it tells you Abdul Rahman. You don't know who it is, but when you say Abdul Rahman, it's Abdul Rahman ibn Mahdi, one of the scholars who is known. He also passed in the year 198. ويحيى بن سعيد القطان والفريابي علي بن الجعد. نعم. So Abdullah ibn Mubarak was very, very famous one. He said, I've never written a hadith or taken hadith from anyone who is better than Sufyan ibn Sa'id al-Thawri. He said, who's this? Who said that? When? Warqa, نعم. لم يرى سفيان مثل. He said, even Sufyan himself, he never saw another person as good as he is. طيب. توفي, مش توفى, توفي. So not only in the year 61, we know exactly what month he passed. 161 Shaban and? Okay, again, 64 years of age. طيب. Let's stop here, inshallah. I don't want to truncate anything. This book is online. Next time, inshallah, we will take Hadith al-Mursal and we'll take more examples, because if you continue reading in Bulugh al-Maram to Ibn Hajar, you will find out that he will mention a lot of time about Mursal and so on. We'll do that, and we'll talk about the fifth condition of a Hadith Sahih, which is Adam al-Alla, that to avoid that there being a Allah. So inshallah, this will be next time. Is there any final questions in our last minute? Okay, there is 2 questions. Go ahead. Fadal.
Sahaba, I was narrating automatically.
Yes, a Sahabi, when they narrate a hadith, even they can make a mistake, right? But they are never accused of not telling the truth. The Sahaba are, grained to always tell the truth. And when they are narrating about the Prophet ﷺ, no matter what happened between Sahaba, and there's a lot of things that happened between them, never ever the Sahabis told the other, you're loving the Prophet ﷺ, never said that thing. That never happened. طبقة. So, الطبقة الصغرى, this is from the Tabi'een, right? They saw 1 Sahabi or 2 Sahabi. Yeah, they saw them by for example, Sayyidina Abu, yes, Sayyidina Abu Hanifa, they say he saw Sayyidina Anas, but he never listened to him, or he didn't take any hadith. يقال أنه رأى أنسا, and so on. ماشي؟ طيب بارك الله فيكم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you barakah in your time. Inshallah, we will continue next time again at 6:15. Is there anything? طيب الله يبارك فيكم جميعا. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.